A very good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for joining our session today. We are super excited to deliver this session and so much to share with you. Before I start, I would like to mention we would really like to keep the session interactive as we always do. So please join the conversation and chat where our team can answer your questions and keep an eye on some polls where we will be asking for your opinions on certain things. My name is Nihal Yamaz, and I'm leading the developer advocacy and hybrid cloud build team across Middle East and Africa region. And our mission is to enable developers who would like to acquire new skills or improve their existing skills about key technologies of today, the trending technologies of today, like cloud computing, cloud native development, data and AI, application security, and much more. So we actually did a Call for Code launch event for Middle East and Africa region on April 5th, and we have been hosting some other sessions and office hours, technical sessions, etc., to support the people who are interested in taking part in this competition. And keep an eye on the chat area. We will be putting the link for that session where you can access the recording and get more details, all the detailed information, because today we will go into deeper with an amazing expert who is joining us today, a very valuable guest speaker. Joining me today is Elizabeth from Heifer International. Excuse me. For our fireside chat, which will be followed by a hands-on session by Mohammed Ali, and he's a developer advocate from our team in IBM Pakistan. Before I hand it over to Elizabeth, I'd like to take just a few minutes to give a high-level overview of Call for Code for those if you have not joined our previous events. It is a multi-year initiative, which it was launched in 2018, and IBM is a co-founder in this initiative. Basically, it invites developers and innovators around the world to build some open source solutions that address social and humanitarian issues like climate change, like racial justice, and last year it was also around the challenges that COVID-19 brought, and so on. And this is a global hackathon where the winning team gets 200,000 US dollars cash award plus implementation support, which is great because now we are seeing previously selected winners solutions getting implemented, which is really important for this initiative because this is not a hackathon where there's a winner and then that's it, but it only starts there. Then your idea might get implemented in some part of the world, making a difference. This year, there are 3 teams that you can choose to build your solution for. One of them is clean water and sanitation. The other one is responsible production and green consumption. And last but not least, zero hunger, which we will tackle today. So your solutions would need to address one of these areas. The challenge was kicked off on April 22nd globally. But you still have time to join and submit your solution as the competition ends by July 31st. So you still have 1.5 months to build a solution and submit it for competition. When you are applying for the global competition, you will also be eligible for the Middle East and Africa regional competition. And in addition to that, if your team is made up of all university students, then you could also be eligible for the University Challenge as well, which gives additional support to university students who would be participating. Final remark is that it's okay if you don't have a team. First of all, you can submit a solution as one person, as a one-person team. But if you'd like to find others and connect, once you register to Call for Code, then you will be invited to a Slack channel where you can connect with others and see if there's anyone you could team up with and collaborate. For further details on Call for Code, so let's just put in the chat the link to the replay for our previous session because I don't want to take a lot of time and want to really deep dive into our topic of today. So zero hunger is the next the topic that we would like to talk about today. I think we can confidently say that climate change is a major contributing factor to this problem. And you can see here some numbers from the UN report. 135 million people suffer from acute hunger. And this means severe undernourishment over a certain period of time, which might end up in starvation. So the fact that this number is so high always strikes me. About 690 million people regularly go to bed hungry. And if you also look at some certain geographies which are close to our region in Middle East and Africa, and are either in our region in Middle East and Africa, is Sub-Saharan Africa, Southern Asia. About 57% of the population is unable to afford a healthy diet. So maybe they have access to some food, but it's not nutritious enough for them. So obviously, the purpose of Call for Code initiative is to find ways technology can help address these issues, for example, by analyzing data around the market, the transportation, demand, and environment for optimization. But for further details, let me now turn to our guest speaker, Elizabeth, for an expert view, where she's going to talk to give us her perspective on the hunger issue. Elizabeth, thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate your time and your sharing experience with us, which will help people build really relevant solutions for Call for Code, which might make a difference. So before you start, could you please introduce yourself and then share some context of the issue? Where are the general problems? How do they relate to climate change? And where do you see the biggest issues in MEA? Elizabeth, can you hear me fine?
Hello, I can hear you fine. So I'm just sharing my slides. Hello everyone, I am Elizabeth Magombo-Kabaghe from Heifer International. I am based in Malawi, so I am part of a team within Heifer that's called Heifer Labs. Today we'll be talking about zero hunger. This is a subject that's very close to our hearts at Heifer. The mission of Heifer is to end hunger and poverty while caring for the earth. And this fits well into some of the SGDs, including SGD 1 and 2. And our 2030 goal is that we should support 30 million families to get a living income. This is an income where they'll be able to support themselves and to afford the basic needs and live a decent and dignified life. So as Niha had started talking about hunger, the hunger situation in Middle Eastern and African region, especially in the past 2 years since the COVID-19 pandemic has hit, the hunger situation has been worsening within these regions, where in the Middle Eastern region, the prevalence of undernourishment has risen to 26%, and 20% of the population in Africa is undernourished. And with the way the situation stands now, we are not on track to ending poverty to ending hunger by 2030. And so this just stresses the need of the agency for us to hold our hands together, collaborate, and act so that we can ensure that we eliminate this challenge. One of the key sectors that we can talk about when we're talking about hunger is agriculture, because that's the sector that produces our food. And this is a sector that's important in both regions, employing two-thirds of the citizens in Africa. And even in Africa, for even those that are employed in non-agricultural industries, there's still some link with agriculture, and it supports the GDPs of the countries in the Middle East. The enterprises of agriculture differ widely within the different countries, but one of the common things is that for Africa, the majority of farmers are smallholder farmers, and that in the Middle Eastern region, the focus for agricultural policy has been on sustainability of food supply, and that is because they form one of the largest importers of food for them to meet their consumption requirements. So part of the challenges of the factors that are contributing to this issue, the issue of hunger, is that climate change is challenging the way we do our agricultural productivity, and it is increasing water scarcity, which is a very important aspect in the Middle Eastern region, but it's important everywhere. And most of food production in Africa is rain-fed. And so climate change just poses a very huge challenge, especially in the years when there are droughts. It means that there's very little to cope with such challenges. A study that was done by World Bank revealed that apart from climatic shocks, most of households were reporting price shocks as an equally prevalent shock, and that loss of income was common in most years, and coping mechanisms are limited. And rapid population growth is also another challenge. It means that there is more people that needs to be fed, and that will continue being the case because the projections shows that our population will continue growing, and so we need to intensify our production processes to ensure that we can still be able to feed this growing population. Limited access to financing also is a key contributing factor, and the study by World Bank was showing that most households were not using financing credit for financing their production processes, and that there's limited access to capital. And this means that there's just limited access to investment in the production processes, which means that it's difficult to intensify and improve productivity. Use of other inputs such as tractors is almost negligible, only 2 tractors per 1,000 hectares of land, and this has been reducing. It was better in the 1980s than it is now. And that the use of modern inputs are not combined. And agronomically, it has shown that you're able to increase the output if you combine a number of agronomic inputs. And because this is not the case, it means that we're losing out on the gains that could be reaped from such combinations. When we look at the barriers to adoption of technology, this was a study that was done by Heifer in Africa. There are a number of challenges, but the key one has been inadequate access to capital, which was coming in the previous slide. So this is one of the key challenges that's limiting our ability to invest in our production processes and improve our productivity.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the overviews, Elizabeth. I've taken some notes. Water scarcity, high population growth rate, lack of financing support, which leads to lack of more, effective equipment, and some many other things. So maybe now we can just go a bit more deeper. We know that growing more food in a country helps reduce hunger because they are no longer dependent on imports, which relies on overall economy, obviously, of that country. But as you mentioned, agriculture accounts 2/3 of the overall employment in Africa, but we still see hunger as a major issue. So what do you think, are there any issues in the production in particular? How can sustainable agriculture practices be achieved, or what other issues do you see specifically in the production phase?
So apart from the issues that I've already highlighted, some of the issues that we see in the agriculture is one of the key issues is limited access to extension services. So these are advisory services. This affects ability of farmers to adopt new farming practices, and it also affects their ability to be able to efficiently use inputs, as we had seen, that the inputs are not being used in combination, and so that limits the gain that you get from such inputs like inorganic fertilizers. That being said, there also been some gains. There've been an increase in the use of inorganic fertilizers throughout Africa, but the amount, our nitrogen efficiency still remains low. Compared to the world averages, ours is still low. And so these are some of the areas where agricultural extension can help to impact. Another challenge is, as I have said, which is also a key challenge, and it's like a vicious circle, is the access to financing. Credit is limited, and in most cases it's expensive, and so that just hampers the farmers' ability to invest in their production processes. That means that they harvest less and they're able to get less income, and so it's just a vicious circle. When they get less income, they don't have enough to invest in their production processes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I understand. So I just would like to mention for our audience, just to give them some ideas on what happened last year. The Middle East and Africa winner was a team from Egypt called Smart Irrigation, and their project was to place an IoT device in a farmer's field to detect moisture levels in the soil, and the device would contain machine learning models to detect the new crop types, the wilting, prescribes the water accordingly. So I guess to your first point, adopting new farming practices, either adopting them or having access to that information, understanding of what good practices are, could be something our audience could look into, obviously. All right, my other question about this is actually about maybe we talked about production, but logistics. Do you see any issues in particular for the logistics phase when the food is produced, but then everything in between it ends up on either someone's table or, unfortunately, in some certain cases, in a waste? So do you see any issues in food security across the region, or any other issues where food is wasted, or any other issues actually in the logistics phase?
Yes. So statistics show that 1/3 of the food that is produced goes to waste. And that is unfortunate because there's someone somewhere that could have used that food, that needs that food, that would go to bed hungry, while some of the food has gone to waste. And this all goes to the challenges of logistics. One of the key things in the logistical aspect is the issue of storage, where a lot of food is also lost. So lack of storage infrastructure, and even the knowledge on good storage practices affect the supply and the availability of food. Another logistical issue would be just the issue of infrastructure across the continent. So things like good roads, communication infrastructure, this all feeds into that food supply chain and the availability for food to get to the places where it needs to get in good time. And because of the poor road networks, it means that if farmers are selling from a very remote area, that affects the price at which they sell their food. That affects their access to good and profitable markets. And that all just feeds into that whole cycle, where then it affects their income and their ability to afford their needs for the entire year. And another important aspect in the logistics its cold chain, which also then has to do with access to energy for food like horticultural produce that needs to be stored. A lot, that's one of the foods that a lot of it goes to waste because of lack of access to cold storage facilities. And this is linked to access to energy, where there's limited access to energy, especially in rural and remote areas.
Yeah, and I also guess maybe also at this stage, looking at all of this data and understanding how data can be used in order to optimize maybe the logistics, the I don't know, the route of the truck, or any data that could be used to optimize. I think that's also something that our team, or sorry, not our team, our attendees here can maybe look into. The other thing I was thinking of, Elizabeth, was maybe price fairness to make sure they get the price they deserve after all that hard work they put into production of those of the food. But then, how do you make sure what you're selling it for is actually fair? So again, maybe that could be another area people can look into as they build their solution.
I agree with you. And before we get to the issue of price fairness, on the issue of logistics, one of the areas that they can look into is the provision of that information for the supply side and the demand side of the food, to know where what is and how much it is. Just a platform that provides that kind of information and make it readily available in real time would make a big difference. Because, for instance, farmer cooperatives would know what prices, as you're putting it, what prices which markets are fetching. Transporters would know that if we go to this route, there's so much produce that's waiting to be transported. So that's an area that they can look into. And when we come to the issue of price fairness, there are a number of issues there. The first is just the access to the markets. To know where the market is, that market information, and consistency of supply also plays into that, because most of the high value markets, for instance, like supermarkets, they want consistency of supply. And most of the times, the cooperatives, because of the small volumes of production, the cooperatives may not be able to meet that on the supply requirements on their own, and even the consistency of that requirement is also a challenge. And then the developers can help by helping to bring together a number of farmer cooperatives that they can bring their volumes together and also schedule them in a way that they're able to deliver the produce in a consistent manner. And one of the things with that is that agricultural production usually is seasonal, and the farmers harvest at one time, depending on how many seasons they have. It's either once or twice, and that supply is required throughout the year. And so an application that can help, or a system that can help the farmers aggregate, different cooperatives aggregate the produce and stagger their supply to different markets. That also helps them to fetch a better market, a better price, because at the time of harvest, because everyone has it, there's a lot of supply on the market, the prices are lower. But then if you keep the produce for a few months, the prices tend to get a little bit higher. And so that also just benefits the farmers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so pricing is also some. My next question would actually be around trading and marketing. You actually covered it a bit, but did you have anything else to add? Looking on the co-op side, anything that can be done to improve the co-op, somehow optimize their operations, looking at their data, any other areas our attendees could tackle?
One of the things that can help the cooperatives is just applications that help them manage their systems. Most of the cooperatives that we work with at the moment are using paper-based system, and that means that they don't really have the data, number one, and sometimes even the skills to analyze that data, to be able to make some inferences that can help them improve the way they're running their business as a cooperative, or even the way they're managing their agricultural production practices. So even simple things like accounting packages, most of the cooperatives don't have them, and because the systems that are out there are really not built for them. So maybe some of them are even too sophisticated for their levels. So one thing that's important is that we need to be able to build for the audience that we're working with, and issues of illiteracy come into play. And so systems that are easy to interface with, that are easy to use, and that even come with a little bit of some educational element, so that people feel that, oh, this is developed for us. This tells me how I can use it, so it's easy for me to use it. Systems that come with a lot of visual, elements, that someone just as a picture can be able to operate with it, can help. And systems that even support the cooperatives with their governance issues, so that they're more functional and they're more trusted entities would help. And as you rightly put it, the cooperatives are important part of the system, because as I had already indicated that most of the producers are smallholders, and so for them to be able to reach scale, they need to come together in groups, and the cooperatives form these groups that support them to reach economies of scale, but also to have bargaining power.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot of ideas. I was also thinking, we only have 2 minutes left, but I guess weather data is also something really crucial for probably the production part. But I also think it feeds into many other parts of the hunger problem, because it could relate to logistics. For example, if you expect flood, how can you reach out to the farmer? Even if the produce is there, you cannot really access it. Or obviously for the production, weather data is really important, which we also have access to. And I also want to ask our team if they can put some links to some data sets that exactly where we can share with our audience, because you've given so much ideas. Actually, I've taken notes, and for me, there's just so much to do. I mean, personally, I thought this was very informative. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for your time. This is a topic which we can maybe talk for maybe more than 3 hours, even not more. So just for the 30 minutes, I think this is just was a good overview for our people to get some ideas and go deeper. And I would really want to thank you so much, Elizabeth, for your time and your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was a great opportunity to be here and to talk about this subject that we at Heifer are passionate about, and I am passionate about.
Great, and hopefully we might find some finalists this year in the Global Challenge from Middle East and Africa. That's what we're really aiming for here. Thank you again. So now over to Ali and Asna, who is going to give us a hands-on technical workshop. Hey guys, are you there? Okay, hey, I can see you. Hi.
Hello everyone.
Over to you for the hands-on session.
Thank you so much, Neha.
Thank you so much. So this was a really interesting session. I just loved it. And I'll start with the presentation. I'll just let you guys know a little bit about the technical background before starting our hands-on workshop. So I'm gonna close my video to avoid any network issues or bandwidth issues. So yep. Do let me know if you can see my screen. Ali, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Amazing. All right, guys. So my name is Asna Javed, and I'm a lead developer advocate at IBM Pakistan. And today I have...
1 second.
Can you hear me?
Yes, the layout was a little off. Now you can continue.
All right. So today I have Muhammad Ali Khan with me, and he's a developer advocate from Pakistan. Today we're going to learn how we can build a weather dashboard with Node-RED. And before Jumping into that, I'll be talking about what is Node-RED, a little bit technical overview of Node-RED, and then we'll talk about our hands-on session. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the chat, and we'll try to help you as much as possible. All right. So let's talk about what is Node-RED. Basically, Node-RED is a visual programming tool. It's like a drag and drop flow programming tool where you can just add nodes, connect them together and form your IoT solutions. It is open source, and it is browser based editor, so you don't have to worry, and you don't have to install anything if you don't want to. Going further, this is how the dashboard looks like. Basically, Node-RED provides a, as I said, browser-based flow editor, and it makes it pretty easy for you to, wire your flow and, understand how your flow will look like. It can be an IoT solution. It can be a completely web solution. It depends upon how you want to use Node-RED. There are like a lot of possibilities for that. And it's just a single click runtime deployment, so you don't have to do a very heavy processing, and you don't have to go through all that process. And that's why we select Node-RED for today. Moving further, you can install Node-RED locally on your personal computers or your devices, or you can install it on any other IoT device like a Raspberry Pi. And again, you can use it on the cloud. Today, we are going to use the Node-RED in the cloud. And for that, obviously, you would need a cloud account. So we're going to share the details with you in a while. Moving further, let's just talk about a little bit about technical overview about what flows are, because we're going to show you like a quick demo how you can create your own weather dashboard. So for that, you need to understand a few of the terms. First of all, you heard me already saying the word flow. So what is a flow? A flow is a collection of nodes, that are wired together. Now you must be thinking, what is a node? Nodes are like pretty simple. They're like an input-output ports, right? Some of them might have a single input. Some might have multiple inputs. It depends upon what kind of node you're using. And you can, wire together single or multiple nodes. Okay, so moving further, basically your flow is stored as a JSON object, all right? And then it provides you the configuration for all the nodes, and you can obviously import your flows, you can export them, and it's pretty easy and pretty manageable. So so the flow JSON, it can, again, as I said, that it can be imported, it can be exported between different Node-RED instances. Like for example, I create a flow and I want that Ali use that flow, so I can export that for Ali and he can import that. So it's pretty easy. You can share your flows with other people. Moving further. So let's get a little bit into details about the nodes. Here you can see on the diagram. So this particular box here, if you can see my my mouse, do let me know. Ali, you can see my mouse moving, right?
Yes, I can.
All right, so this particular node here this is called a node. All right, so basically, for example, a node sends a payload to another node and it goes so on and so forth. All right, so nodes are the basic building blocks of a flow. All right, and what you do is basically nodes, they start your flow, they start your instance, whatever you're sending it, whether it's an incoming HTTP request or it's a timer for a hardware. It all depends upon what kind of a flow you're creating. And what they normally do is they basically, and this is something I mentioned that payload, it's basically a message that you want to send from one node to another. All right, so here is a very simple example. I want you to think about that you have a sensor that senses a temperature, for example. So my node senses a temperature. So I want this node to send that temperature information to my second node that displays the temperature. So it's pretty simple that one node sends the message to another node. So that's how the flow works. All right. Let me know if you have any questions. If you think I'm moving very fast, do let me know. I can repeat myself. Okay, so let's move further. Now, the second thing is the messages. So messages are basically their flows and their JavaScript objects, right? By the way, your messages could be in JavaScript, they can be in HTML, they can be into anything. It depends upon what kind of node you're using, all right? So they will have the payload property, and that it will contain some information. For example, if you look at this one, right, this is a message where it says topic is weather and UK, and the payload means sunny. So today the weather in United Kingdom is sunny. So this is the message that we are sending through our nodes, and this is what the payload takes the interesting information. All right. I hope that makes sense, and I hope that you guys understand what I'm trying to say. All right, so let's move further. Oh yeah, and that these are like pretty much all you need to understand. You need to keep in mind that there is a message, there is nodes, and then there are flows. So these are like the basics of Node-RED. And obviously, when you get into the advanced levels, you guys can see how you can add more things. But these are the basics that you have to have in every Node-RED flow. So let's talk about the hands-on. We're just gonna jump into hands-on real quick. Like before that, let me just tell you about why we are creating a weather dashboard. So as you just hear from our speakers that the climate is highly affecting the food availability, right? So it's a very important factor when it comes to farmers developing their making their crops, right? So basically what happens that some of the crops, the crops that are in the early stage, they need little amount of water, and the crops that are in their fully grown stage needs more amount of water. Sometimes what happens is that there is rain unexpectedly, right? And the farmers doesn't know, like farmers have already given water to their crops, and then suddenly it rains. So now their crops are damaged, right? Because excess of water is not good for the crops, less amount of water is not good for the crops. So today what we're going to do is we're going to create a weather dashboard that is going to show what is the temperature in that particular area. And depending on that temperature, because it also depends upon the humidity, if it is very cloudy, you need to add less water to your crops. If it is very sunny, you have to add more water. It depends upon the weather also, right? So if to make to bring up a good crop, the farmers need to know how the weather is. So you as developers can actually create applications that can help farmers determine how much water they should be adding in their crops on a particular day, even also on the monthly basis. Plus, you can use this data to also create your machine learning models, right? That will understand how the weather works and how the weather of that particular month is, so that farmers know when to crop their when to plant their crops. So this is the basic idea about why we are creating a weather dashboard. All right, so for this you guys would need to sign in, or if you already have an account, sign in, or if you don't, sign up for IBM Cloud. We're going to share this link with you in the chat right now. Ali, over to you. Let's give them like a couple of minutes so that they can sign in and sign up for their IBM Cloud account.
Definitely, definitely. Let me share my screen. Okay. Okay, so Asna, do let me know if you can see my screen properly or not.
Yes, Ali, I can see your screen. Guys, please let us know in the chat if you have already created your IBM Cloud account and you have signed in. If you don't have the IBM Cloud account, it will just take you a couple of minutes. Just create your IBM Cloud account so we can start with this quick demo to get you started.
So I hope everyone has signed up to the IBM Cloud account. I have already signed it up. So all you need to do is go to the URL mentioned in the chat, and then we can begin our Node-RED journey. So I think pretty much Asna has explained it or what we're trying to accomplish. So what we're trying to do is we're going to create our first Node-RED app. We're going to create our dashboard, and then we're going to connect our Open Weather API and try to fetch real-time data
Ali, can you
from
go
it.
full screen, please? I
Uh,
think.
Definitely, I'm just waiting. I'm already on full screen. 1 second. I'm already on full screen. Just
All
waiting.
right, guys, let us know in the chat if you already have logged into your IBM Cloud account so we can move further. We just want you to, follow us along so we can answer your queries in developing your solution and help you get started. So please do let us know in the chat. We also have opened a poll. So if you don't want to reply back with in the chat, do let us know here that you have already logged in. So I see their votes coming in already. So yes, Ali, let's start.
Okay, so after you've been on your dashboard, all you need to do is let me just zoom in. So if you can go to your top of the screen and just type node red, remember node and space and then red, then you will be given a past search result which says node red app. All you need to do now is just click on it. Again, I'm repeating myself again. All you need to do is just click on the search button here and type Node-RED, Node space red, and you will be given a catalog result of a Node-RED app. All you need to do now is just click on this. And again, depending on your internet, you will be redirected to a Node-RED starter page. So again, let me know in the polls or in the comments that we should move on to the next step or not. Uh, I will gladly know them. Okay.
All right, guys, do let us know in the chat if you're on the same window as Ali, and if you want us to repeat a step, please do let us know about that as well. I'm waiting for your reply. So Ali, someone asked, kindly repeat.
Okay, great. So all you need to do is just go to your IBM Cloud dashboard. Again, if you don't have an IBM Cloud account, just create one. It takes 5 minutes, and after you have been signed in, all you need to do is just go onto your top bar, which has a search icon here, like where my mouse is. All you need to do is just search Node space red, and whatever the result comes to you or presents to you, all you need to do now is just click on this Node-RED app, and you will be redirected to a page similar to this. So I'm just waiting 1 minute more, and then we're going to begin. I hope you understand that.
Guys, are you able to follow so far? Please let us know in the chat.
Yeah, definitely let us know.
Let's be more interactive. We are here to help you out. Should we move further?
Uh, okay. So allow me to introduce what this page exactly is. So what? Okay, we can see that some people are already on this step way. So what this page is, this page configures all the things you need to deploy Node-RED on the IBM Cloud. So in order for Node-RED to work, you need to have a database so that all of the libraries or the configuration that Node-RED needs is saved and installed on the IBM Cloud and database. Again, you don't have to worry about that on the pricing or anything. We're going to go through that all one by one. Uh, on your page, you can see there's a create tab here. Just click on it here, and on the first thing that we are going to be showing it is the app name. So what you can do is you can name your app whatever you want. I'm just going to say, okay, remember this has to be a unique URL. So weather dashboard, I'm just going to name it uh, I'm just going to name it something so that I can remember why I created it. So again, it's up to you. What do you want to name it? I just name mine weather dashboard Node-RED. Again, you can name it whatever you want. And if you just scroll down, it's going to ask you which what resource group do I want. You can just select it. You can just leave it at default. I don't have any tags right now. We're going to use platform Node.js. That's pretty explanatory. Now, what we need to do is we just need to select Dallas. So, if your account has already selected Dallas, that's completely fine. If not, do select the region as Dallas so that all of the next steps can be done smoothly. Let's just check again. Okay, great. Okay, we selected Dallas region. So, has anybody following me have done this step? Should I move on? Let me know in the chat.
Guys, if you missed a step, or if your Node-RED application is taking a while to be created, you can follow the link of the steps that I shared in the chat with you right now. And if you all are on this same page as Ali, do let us know.
Great. Again, if the next steps is going to take a minute or so, we should move on, and it's just pretty explanatory. Again, just to repeat, we just named our app to something we liked, and we just selected the region from any region to just to Dallas, and we didn't change anything. We're just going to now click on create, and again, depending on the internet, it's just going to take 1 minute, and again, it's redirected us to a new page. So we're currently waiting for all of our services to be provisioned and started so that we can then continue moving on to continue to work on the Node-RED app. So again, it's just going to take 1 minute for it to establish a database for us, and then we're going to establish other things. Okay. Let me just zoom out so that you can sort of understand what the page looks like. Okay for you. Okay, this is what the page might look like. We're just waiting for the services cloud and database to provision itself. Then we're going to start doing our continuous delivery configuration. So do let me know if you're on this page.
Also, I just want to mention here that the recording will be available on this same page, same URL. So, in case you miss something, or because of the internet network issues, you can always come back and watch this. So, are you all ready? Uh, and are you all on this page? Shall we move further? Please let us know in the chat.
Okay, do let me know so that we can begin our next step. Okay, I think we should. Is anybody having any issue regarding that? Should I move on?
Guys, if you're facing any issues, please let us know. We're here to help you out.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So for those that are following me, all you need to do now is like the blue button which is highlighted here. All you need to do is just click on deploy your app. Now, okay, it's going to take us to a new page. So again, for those that are on this page, let me know so that I can explain what we are trying to do. Thank you.
So, guys, this is a very important step, and please note this. Uh, and if you have any issues here, just let us know so we can, help you resolve this. Ali, carry on.
Okay, great. So for the next step, what we need to do is select the Cloud Foundry. Since our Node-RED application is going to be deployed on the IBM Cloud Foundry service, we are going to select this, and we're not going to select any other thing. After that, what we need to do is we need to create an IBM Cloud API key. So why do we need that? So in order for our continuous integration or CI/CD pipeline to fully exist with the IBM Cloud, so that so suppose if you want to make a quick change to our code, with this through this key, we can continuously update our code as soon as the update is done. So for that to happen, we need to give the IBM Cloud Foundry app and an API key. So let's just do that. We're going to click on new, and it's going to ask us, you're going to be creating a new API key which will allow anyone that has an ability to do anything you can do. So we're going to say, okay, it's fine. We know what we are trying to do. And it's created an API key for IBM Cloud API key, just like that. Now, what we need to do is it's asking us how many instances of our Node-RED application do we want. We're just going to select one since it's fine for demo purposes. Next is how much memory should be allocated. We are going to select 128 MB, so it's going to be perfectly fine for our use case. So we're going to select 128 MB. Remember, this is how you know how much memory are you allocating for your Node-RED app. Remember, this is a slider. Just select it to 128 as shown here. Next is again, remember, this is a very important thing. Whatever Node-RED app that we are using is supposed to be on the same geographical location. So remember, in the previous step we selected Dallas. So in this step we are also going to select Dallas. So do mind of that. Next is the domain. It's completely fine as it is, and here you can rename whatever your URL might be. For this case, weather dashboard Node-RED domain is perfectly fine. So we're going to continue with the next step. Remember, we selected 128 MB as our memory allocation. For instance, we selected the Cloud Foundry option, and we selected the IBM Cloud API key, and we created a new one. Should I move on to the next part, or shall I wait? Do let me know in the chat.
Uh,
Okay, so all you need to do, if you're done with the step, you can just click on next. Just click on next, and this will now create a DevOps tool chain for you. Again, now we just need to make sure that the region again is selected Dallas. You can just check it back to see if the same region is selected. So one more thing to note: if your host name is not unique, you might need to change it up a bit for that in order for our Node-RED app to be deployed on to the IBM cloud. Now just click on next, and just make sure again, repeating again, that the region should be Dallas, and we are just going to click on create. And that's pretty much it. We are going to now wait for our continuous delivery pipeline to be configured. So then now, as soon as that is done, we're going to move on we move on to the next step, in which then we're going to learn how we can properly use Node-RED and how it works. So even we can check let's just check. We can even check what's the status of our pipeline, is if all of the things are ready or not. Should we wait or not? So it can pretty much give us a status on uh, if something is not ready or not. So yes. So as you can see, as soon as we configured our pipeline, it shows a status that it's being run. So we have to wait while that happens. Do let me know if you have done with this step. It's going to take 1 or 2 minutes. Meanwhile, we can do another thing in that time. Uh, it's only possible for me to do that if you can tell me if you are on this step or not. Otherwise, I'm happy to repeat any other step that you want. Okay, so do let me know if you're on this step or not, and we're waiting currently for our deployment to be completed so that we can now move on to the next thing. So in the meantime, what we need to do is, since Asna mentioned about the Open Weather API and how we're going to use weather data and showcase that on our dashboard. So in order for us to get that data and to get that API, what we need to do is you can just click on here. I'm just pasting this in the chat as well. It's a good book where I'm going to explain what that is and what this function is. So what we need to do is we can just go onto this page like here, and there is going to be URL which says get weather API. So as
So
soon
for
as yes, as I
those
continue.
of you, yeah, Ali, just I want to mention for those of you who are working, who are following us and asking us which step we are on. Ali is right now on step 4, and just follow him. He'll be showing you how you can get the weather API. So over to you, Ali.
Okay, thank you so much, Asma. This is another important step that we need to do. So if you can go to this URL which says, let me just paste it on this chat as well. So if you're not familiar with an API documentation or if you have worked with it, so what this is the documentation of the current weather data. Through this documentation, what we can do is we can get a sense of what the data what the weather is depending on what city is. So here, if you can look, we have given us a structure that if we want to make a REST API call, we should go use this structure in order to interact with it. So here, let me just explain you one by one. So this is a URL which is very typical. We don't need to change that. So in order for our API to become dynamic, it's asking us to provide us with a city name as well as an API key. So this is a very important step. So let me show you what our data looks like whenever we make an API call. So if you can go look at this screen, so whenever we make a call, we are given a JSON list of something like this. So here, if you make an API call, like a dummy API call, it presents us with a data like what longitude and latitude that city is, what's the weather like it has clouds on anything. It tells us the temperature. Again, it's in metric unit, so it tells us what the temperature is in centigrade. Here it tells us what the actual temperature feels like, what's the minimum temperature for the day, and what will be the maximum temperature for that particular day. It also tells us the pressure of the city currently, and it also mentions the humidity. Again, there's plenty of more data as well, like what's the wind condition, and again, it tells us some geographic location, like which country it is, and what is the sunrise and sunset time. So you can get a pretty good glance on how we can use this data and just showcase that on our dashboard. So again, in order to get this data, what you need to do is first you need to have to register for that. So how do we register for that? If you can look at the right, which says sign in, it will redirect you to a simple login page, registration page. You can just enter your email password and submit, and that's pretty much straightforward. After that, you will be given you after you log into it, you will be presented with an API key, and that's pretty much it. So meanwhile, while our dashboard is being ready, you can take the time to register yourself to get an API key. Again, let me know if you have registered for that or you created an account. I've pasted the link in here as well, so I'm just waiting. Meanwhile, let me refresh my dashboard page. So I assume it should be done by now, but we're going to wait. As I refresh my dashboard's page, it mentioned that the status is in progress and my CI/CD pipeline is currently being deployed, and I should currently wait, and that's perfectly fine. Again, do let me know if you're on this dashboard or not, or if you have any problems. Do let me know. Okay, for those wondering what does the API key looks like and what will happen after you logged in. So this is pretty much the dashboard, and all you need to do is just copy the key. It's free, and you don't need to pay anything for that. And you can just copy this key. This is a very important step. So after you have created an account on the openweathermap.org, you can just copy this key and save it somewhere special. Okay. So here, as you can see on our dashboard, our pipeline is run, it's ready. So let me just refresh our dashboard. Again, let me know in the chat if you have done this step and are with me or not. I can wait. Okay, thanks so much. Remember, just to repeat, we have created an open weather account. We have saved an API key or somewhere on our PC, and we have created our automation pipeline key, and we're just ready. And now what we're doing is we just are waiting for the next step to begin. So again, let me know in the chat if we should move on or not. The next step is pretty much all about Node-RED and how we can get started. What's the dashboard like? How can you configure it? And pretty much everything about Node-RED. So all of the things that we need to configure for Node-RED, like its library, the database it requires, and the automated pipeline has been made. Or now we just need to focus on the dashboard. Great. For those that are done or on this step, you can just click on this app URL and just open this in another tab. It's perfectly fine. Thank you.
I think Ali, you can go with the next step.
Sure. As soon as you are given again, I don't know if you can see the same thing as I can, but if you want, you can just refresh your page, and there should be an app URL like this, depending on whatever your name you have given to in the previous step. Okay, and then you can just click on this, and you will be redirected to an IBM to a Node-RED instance on IBM Cloud. So next thing we need to do is we can just click on next. It's going to ask us for a username and password. Again, you can name it pretty much whatever you want. I'm just going to name it my dashboard, and we'll just have a generic. Okay, let me just add some password. Okay, so you can just add whatever username and password you want. Remember, or for people that has these username and password, only those can access the Node-RED editor. Otherwise, you won't have access to that dashboard. So again, you can even click on this option if you want to allow anyone to view the editor but not make any changes. But for our cases, we don't want that. We just have set a username password, and we are going to click on next. Again, just click on next, pretty straightforward, and we are finished with setting up our Node-RED editor. Again, we're just waiting. Here, there's a new page created for us, which mentions what Node-RED is. It tells us a few information about how can we further secure our Node-RED and how can we enable application metrics. Okay, if you want to monitor that, so we can check this out later. For now, we are fine. Okay, so do let me know if we are all on this step or not, and then we are going to continue. Again, do let us know if you're on this step and are just waiting to get your started on your Node-RED flow editor. Thank you. Okay, I think that's plenty of time. So what we need to do now is just click on go to your Node-RED flow editor. As soon as we're going to be okay, let's okay, remember the username and password. Okay, just enter. So okay, let's just go back. I think what was the username that I placed? 1 second. I think it was that. No for dashboard password. Let me just go back and check what is our dashboard. One second. Let's just put here. Okay. So this is your dashboard. What your Node-RED dashboard should look like. What should appear to be look like. So let's just get started on what Node-RED is. How can you set things up? How can you get started with your Hello World and what should it look like? So first of all, this is your flow editor on your. I hope you can see this. Let me just zoom in. So on your left-hand sides are basically widgets which we can drag and drop here, and this should what you will be seeing here. Again, you can just name it whatever you want. Let's say data, something like that, and it should appear like this. So here you can see are pretty much some of the things. If you're familiar with JavaScript, our functions that we can add. Again, it's very interactive. We can drag it onto it. We can create a flow around it. As Asma mentioned, we can connect one end to the another and create whatever kind of flow that we desire. So what we need to do now is to first create an hello world. Let's start with the basic thing. Here, what I'm trying to do is again, what did I do? On your hand side, you can just click on this inject node, and what you can do now is you can just take this and drag and drop this debug node on, if you can see on my top left. Now, what we can do is we can connect this node with the another, and what again? Let me just Okay. Now what we can do is we can click on this to further find out what does it do. So currently, what my input node can do is it can provide us with a timestamp and it can give us what the current time is. So let's just we can name our timestamp whatever we want. Uh, tell that we can name it whatever we want. Okay, one of the cool things with Node-RED is we can even add description of why are we using this node. Uh, we can even add documentation on why we created this through input time, and we can just click on done with it. So whenever we click on this, you can see on my bottom right. I hope you can see it says to input time. Again, that's what we added. So that's it's very a cool thing for us to do documentation on, so that anyone else that will use our flow can get an understanding on why are you using it. Next thing is uh next thing is okay. So what this node does is it generates time and sends the data to an output node. So let's see how what the output node looks like. We can just click on it, and it just says that it has some properties like it can output message.payload and whatever it is, and we can name it. Okay, we can name it to display our type. You can just name it whatever you want. Again, we can even document this. If you can click on this button here, we can even highlight it to this, and we can even have we can even add pretty much anything to this as well. We can change its icon as well to whatever you like. So for now, we should be okay with it. Now, in order for this to work on it, in order for this to display something, what we need to do is we need to go on our top right, which mentions there's going to be a lot of settings, which one is help, another is the debug. So let me just clear this. So whatever data that you are going to present or code or uh, try to try to find bugs on, this is the screen through which you can see what's happening and what's not. So in order for us to execute this piece of flow, we can just click on this. Okay, first we need to do is to deploy our changes. So how do we do that? For whatever things we want to do, we need to just click on this deploy button here on the top, and we're going to say confirm deploy. And as soon as we deploy, our changes will be reflected on the debug page. So let's just click on this. As soon as I click on this, it let me show you. As one second. Okay, great. As soon as I debugged, it showed me a timestamp. So basically, if you're familiar with this timestamp represents number from 1st January 1970. So we can use a little function here to properly display our time. How do we do that? How can we have a little bit of function that intercepts this time in this format and presents us with a readable format? So for that, if you can see here, we're going to use our function node. We're going to just drag it here. Now we can just click on this line here and just press backspace or delete and just remove it. Now what we can do is we can just connect this to this and this to this. Pretty straightforward. Now, how can we code this? How can we add functionality to it? What do we want to do? What does this function do? It formats basically uh, RT. Let me just see. And here you can, if you're familiar with JavaScript, you can pretty much write whatever JavaScript you want. So in order to avoid save time, I've added a little bit of data as well and code as well. So if you're familiar with this, I'm just going to add this code as well, code snippet. So if you want to know where can you find this code snippets, it's added on this GitHub. So what you need to now do is just copy this code and paste this here, simple as that. So what this code does is let's just remove this. Let me just paste this code as here as well. Great. So if you're familiar with JavaScript, basically it will rewrite the message dot payload variable with a new date format, and it will convert it using a helper function to a more readable date. So if you're not familiar with JavaScript, it's completely fine. So the function or the purpose of this demonstration is to showcase how you can mix and match different nodes and perform a basic flow. So it's completely fine. Now what we're going to do is click on done. And again, we're going to click on deploy again to, it's asking us, are you sure you want to update this? We're saying it's completely fine. And as you can see, our, uh, our flow has been updated. So let's test it out if it works or not. We can just click on here. If you can see this button here, and it will pretty much reflect whatever the time is in seconds. We can even update our string so it can better showcase. Looking at like our our time. Okay, and we click on done, and we're going to click on again to our deploy button. Remember, whatever changes we're going to make, we have to click on the deploy button again to reflect all of our changes. We're going to click on this button to tell the time again to initiate this flow. And here you can see on my top right, on the bottom of basically, it says whatever the string we had, our time and date is, and it told us the time and date. So that's a pretty basic understanding of how how the node red works, how we can arrange a particular node with one in another, and how we can display this. So for the next thing, I really want you to try this out and mix and match some of the things. For the next part, what we're going to do is we're going to make an API call with the weather API. So we do note of that. So have you created that account? Have you gotten that API key or not? Do let me know in the chat so that we can move on to the next part of our demonstration. Again, to repeat myself, have you gotten the API key from the Open Weather website or not? Do let me know in the chat. So after, if you haven't gotten the API key, what you can do is you can change and mix and match different city names to get data. So here I'm using Karachi as my current city, and it's giving me what's the temperature in Karachi. And if I can basically theoretically search any city on planet Earth, and it will give me the weather of that in an API format, which we can then demonstrate and paste on the our Red dashboard. So again, do let me know if you can make a successful call or not, or should we move on or not. Remember, in order to make an API call like this, I have documented this as well. If you can scroll down, this should be the URL. Let me just so I have highlighted the URL as well, which says open api.openweather.map.org, and you can change the Karachi city to any other city of your choice. I just put it here. And remember to replace the app ID, the API key here with the API key from your dashboard, and you can just pretty much have the unit metric. So it will provide us with the temperature in degrees Celsius. So again, if you have any questions for that, let me know. We can then move on. Again, I'm just pasting this here. Okay. Now, if you have done this, let's see how we can add this kind of data onto our Node dashboard. So let's again let me know in the chat if you are done with this step or not, and so we can move on. Okay. Okay, so let's see how we can showcase an API call from Node-RED. So here, if I can scroll down and head towards the network tab, here there's going to be a bunch of nodes here for us to do. For here, we're going to just go to the network tabs and search on HTTP requests. That's perfectly fine. And what we're going to do is we are just going to do this. We're going to inject this, and what we're going to do is we are going to debug this URL. So what you need to do now is you are just going to click on this HTTP request node. It's going to open up, and what you need to do now is again we're going to have a method of get that's pretty much simple and straightforward. Next, what we're going to do is we are going to copy paste whatever our API URL was and just paste it here. It's pretty straightforward. And what we want to do is next is we want it to return a parse JSON object so that whatever data it gets, it returns us to the next node. We are going to name this node to get weather data, and then we're going to click on done. That's pretty straightforward. We're going to connect this timestamp node with this so that we can activate it. And what we're going to do now is we're going to connect this weather data node with the message.payload node, debug node. We're going to click on here, and what we're going to do is instead of outputting just a generic single thing. What we're going to do is we want whatever the whole message is. We're going to click on this to the display data. We rename this. We press done again, and this pretty much is our what our flow is. Remember, we can just click on. We have to click on deploy and confirm deploy. And let's see if our data works or if our data is getting deployed, if it's gets shown or not. Let's see here. I'm going to, okay, let's click on here. And as you can see, it's given us a whole array of objects which contains payload as well, which contains all of our data of our weather, like what our wind is. We can even check out what the current temperature is feel like. So how do we extract that data and to just display data of what we want to see? We don't want the user to see all of these things. So one of the cool things about this, so suppose if you want some particular thing within the JSON array, what you can do is we can just hover over it, and there is a small button here. If you can see here, it says copy path. We can copy it here. We can minimize this, and what we can do is we can just drag and drop another output node. And what we can do is we can just click on here. Now we can pretty much say that okay. Uh, This we are using this debug node to display temperature. That's done, and we're going to click on done as well. We are going to click on this or deploy again to reflect whatever changes that we make. Now that's been done, let's check what our debug window look like. We're going to click on here, and as you can see, with the whole message object, we got to see what's the temperature is. Now we can even turn it into a fancy, and we can extract whatever the key information we want. So suppose for our dashboard, we want the city name. Let's just copy this. Let's again. I'm not going into that. Okay, how do you copy that? How to do? I'm just showing you that. Okay, you can just hover over the data. It shows you a button to copy path. You can just pretty much do so. And what we can do is we can just pull up another debug node and just again pass that data along on that node as well. And we can just pretty much do that to display payload.name, and we're going to be done. Now I think let's just do one more thing, and we're going to be pretty much done with it. Okay, and we're just going to click on this again, and here is if you can see, it displays the temperature and it displays the city name. We can even go furthermore when we have our dashboard ready. So in order for us to display things or to display our data onto our dashboard, we first need to install a Node-RED dashboard onto our Node-RED app. So how do we do that? How do we update that? So let's look at that. So in order to install any new libraries onto our dashboard, what we need to do is we need to go back to our basic page, our service page for our Node-RED, and you can, sorry about that, you can just click on the source here, and it will redirect you uh, to a GitHub repository on your IBM Cloud account. Here you can see the code that Node-RED is using currently, and you can further make changes on that if you want to. You can explore this repository on your own. But first, in order for us to add the Node-RED dashboard, what we need to do is now is we just have to click on this package.json file here. If you can scroll down, which will list all of our libraries and all of the important things that Node-RED needs in order for it to function. Now, what we need to do is we need to add a single line for it to install the Node-RED dashboard. So what do we need to add? What we need to do is I'm just going to paste it here as well. You can just click on this edit page here. We're just going to wait for that. And what we need to do is just enter up a new line and just paste this here and add a comma. Remember to add a comma. So for our package on JSON to have no errors, again, do make sure of that. Remember, we are basically telling the package manager that install a library by the name of node-red-dashboard, and it should have a version 2 point something. You don't have to mention the name, and we can just update our commit message to edit node-red-dashboard. Pretty much that, and we are ready to commit changes. Now we have to wait for our Node-RED app to first fetch this library and then install that library and update our Node-RED dashboard. So if you can see here, I don't know, not here. Okay, so here it's our on our pipeline. As soon as we committed a push, it's currently updating our app with whatever new code base we added. So we have to wait for that to happen, and then we're going to move on how we can further add things and how we can further add things to our dashboard. Right. Again, it's going to take one or 2 minutes, and then we're going to be done. Okay. One more thing while this has been done. You can go ahead and download this JSON file. It contains the flow for the next part. So if you don't want me to demonstrate this, you could just download this and all of the things that I dumped showcased on my Node-RED dashboard. You can see that as well. So do download that as. So we are waiting again. It says a status is in progress. So we wait. If you have any questions, do let me know in the chat.
I believe Google.
Uh, yes, Asna, your voice is being cut a little bit close. Okay, let me demonstrate that's another thing while this is being done, so no worries. Let's just refresh it one more time, and then we're going to show demonstrate of what we're going to do in the next step so that you can follow along later on then. No worries. So assuming it's been done, let's just go back here. What you need to do now is you can just delete all of this. And what you can do in the next step is just download the JSON file, and then you will be pretty much done with the flow. Let's just remove everything. Now what we're going to do, we're going to import our flow. We're going to select the local file, and we're going to select flow.json, and it's going to import copy. Okay, great. So here, as you can see, okay, so we added a basic flow, what it does and how it represents. We can check this out later on. But after you have been done by adding the Node-RED dashboard, you can see your dashboard or your options is you can see it through. You can just click on here, which says dashboard. There will be a new option as soon as you install it. There's going to be a new option uh, by the name of dashboard here. If you don't see this, you can view and there should be a dashboard option here. Just click on this and you will be shown. So a few things to note. uh, it's asking us to how our dashboard should look. What should the title be? If we want to show the title bar or not. If you want to swipe between, do we have any date format? We can even have a layout as well if we want a certain layout, or how our theme should look. We can even change that. So we let's just change it to a little bit yellowish or greenish, and then we're going to leave that as it is. Now, before we deploy that, we will need to let's see what are what other things that the dashboard gives. So if you can scroll here on my left side of the screen, there's going to be a whole new library of nodes that's going to be added as soon as you do this. So you can again, as the dashboard suggests, you can add buttons, drop down, switch bar. If you want to represent numeric text, you can add a text input, you can add a date picker, forms, and pretty much anything you want. Again, it's just simple as drag and drop, and it will display that. Again, we did the same thing as before. Let me test. Let me showcase how it shows. How does it debug, and how does what input output does it give? So if you can click on this debug menu and just I'm going to deploy, confirm deploy, yes. So what we need to do is we can just click on this timestamp here. Again, as I mentioned before, we are just displaying the current weather, current temperature of the city. So that's perfectly fine. So what's this being displayed to? What's this connected to? So what we did is we dragged on a text node. We connected this weather API to the text node, and remember, we were cherry picking what kind of data do we want. We can just copy this, right? And we can just say that, okay, our weather, uh, sorry, we can say that our temperature is, and our value should be in this format, and we're going to be done, and whatever data we fetch, we get will be shown in this text format. So I'm just going to delete this since we don't need to do this, and we're going to click on deploy, confirm deploy. Now let's see what our actual dashboard looks like. We can just click on here. We can just click on dashboard here. And if you can see on the top right where our cursor is, it says a window. Let's just click on that. And again, depending on, so here, as you can see, this displays what our current temperature is. We can even change it to something else. Let's just do that. Let's just delete this button. And do we have any other button? Let's just delete that as well. So let's just change it to one second. Let's display it to tell us which can I make? Okay, which city it is. Okay, so let's do that. We're going to connect this as well, and we're going to say that okay, give us the name of the city. So we're going to copy this again, and we are almost done. We can just replace this and say city, and this is going to be done. We're going to deploy it again. Remember, we have to click on the deploy to reflect whatever changes that we make. Let's just refresh that. Let's wait, and then we're okay. Let's just wait for the changes to be made, and then we're going to be done. Okay.
Ali,
Yep. Yes.
yeah,
Yes,
we will
Aslam.
just wrap up. I think we're a bit over the time now. So,
Okay. Sorry about that.
yeah.
Just one second. Okay, we're done. Okay, just added this message of payload. Let's deploy it. Sorry about that, and we'll just refresh this, and we are done. So this So I hope you enjoyed all of this and you created the dashboard and you understood how we can mix and match different node bars to create a dashboard so that you can help out the farmers in telling, okay, how much should they water the plants, what based on the humidity, based on certain aspects of the weather, you can better inform the farmers on how on when should they water or not if there's a rain coming and so on and so forth. So you can mix and match pretty much anything you want. There's a lot of tutorial for that. And you again, the sky is the limit. So do work on Node-RED is a very fun tool. You can pretty much do complex things with it. You can add IoT things to it. You can even control smart devices with it. So really, really recommend that you get had your hands dirty with this tool.
Amazing. Ali, can you quickly give me the screen sharing? I just have to show them a couple of links that they can use for their future call for code activities. So that was really great, guys. As Ali said, do use the dashboard, learn how this can be will help you out. So here are some of the resources I wanted to share. You can go to Call for Code main page to learn more about how you can participate. If you have some question answers, you can go and check them out in FAQs. We have starter kits about zero hunger, clean water and sanitation, responsible production, and green consumption. That is the sub themes of this year's Call for Code. We have office hours that happens on every Monday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Dubai time, which are happening right now on this link. We're going to share this link with you in the chat. So if you have any other questions about your solution and if you're getting started, if you need any technical help, please reach out to us on Crowdcast. On our office hours every Monday, we'll be available for you guys from 6 to 7 p.m. You can join our Slack channel, that is MEA Call for Code Slack channel. Again, we'll be sharing this link with you in the follow-up email. To get more information about Call for Code events, more technical hands-on workshops for you to get started, join our meetup page, that is meetup.com/IBM Cloud MEA. And to watch the replays of the previous events, you can just go to crowdcast.io/developer IBM developer, and you can find all the replays that you can go through to enhance your skills, and that will help you in developing your solution. And don't forget to fill this short survey. I hope you enjoyed today's session. And I hope this was fruitful to you. Do let us know what you think about it. We would love to hear from you so we can improve ourselves for, to provide you a better experience. And that's it from our side, guys. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Asna Javed, and you had Ali who was conducting the workshop. You can reach out to us on our email addresses, and you can also, join us for our event or our office hours every Monday that is happening right now. So if you want to join, go ahead and join us. Thank you so much.